Sorry guys, I was trying to get this review up to you yesterday, but I had a bit of a cold, so I wanted to rest yesterday. But alas, it shall not stop me today, because for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the brand new, after a 2-year wait, Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Petalmorphosis palette. When I say we've been waiting for this for 2 years, I mean it. It's been 2 years since the last Mothership launch, and this is the highlight of the brand. Today I'm going to address some formula changes over the years that have occurred, going to be doing some swatch comparisons, swatches of course, and a couple of tutorials. If you're new here, I have been reviewing Pat McGrath Labs since day one, and I've really seen the evolution of the brand throughout these years, and I have some opinions. First and foremost being, look at me in the eyes, look at me, listen to me, never ever, do not even think about paying full price for this. Do you hear me? Do not, I repeat, do not pay full price for Pat McGrath ever. I only do it because it is my job, but if you want to save some money, I think Petal 10 you can save on the Pat McGrath website, but hold off. Sephora sale, it did come to Sephora. Sephora sale is starting in April depending on your tier, so that's another opportunity to get it on a discount. And then after it's been around for a while, I do imagine that Pat McGrath will have a bigger sale on it. So okay, anyways, why would you order this from the Pat McGrath website versus Sephora? Because right now, for a limited time, I imagine until they sell out, Pat McGrath Labs website has the limited edition lavender case, and I showed you guys this the other day. Lavender is my favorite color, so I had to get the case. But if I'm being honest with you, and normally I'm super into the limited edition cases, and I love the lavender color, but the lavender doesn't look so good, I think, with these colors. I think it's worth getting just the regular black one at Sephora during the Sephora sale if you're Rouge, because love the case. The colors just don't contrast very well against the purple. But anyways, I did end up picking up the lavender case because I couldn't pass up on anything purple. But I wish the inside of it were black. But anyways, I can't go back. But like, look at this comparison. Doesn't the black look so much better? Anyways, they say it's limited quantities, but it hasn't yet sold out on the Pat McGrath website. Anyways, this is supposed to be, as she says, a cyber garden. Something that makes me feel like I was on drugs. If you look at her Instagram, as it normally does, very psychedelic and very psychedelic shade descriptions. But what's interesting about this palette, you get 5 special shades. Normally there's 4, but I do dive into the swatches as to whether or not like these are special. And is there any other details I want to give to you? Full price, $128. Why is it so much, Morgan? It's an Italian-made formula and very detailed packaging, very heavy, weighty, not able to travel with packaging, but absolutely a luxury experience. But today's video we're going to dive into, is this formula luxurious? In the past, I definitely thought they were. I feel like as the years have gone on, I feel like the quality of Pat McGrath has gone down, but the quality of other brands has gone up. So how can we justify $128 for a 10-pan eyeshadow palette? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take you over into the swatches of the palette, and then towards the end of the video, we will get into swatch comparisons with other palettes. But first, swatches. Guys, here we have it. Feast your eyes upon the packaging of the new beautiful Petalmorphosis palette. Love what they did, but I could use the next Mothership palette without this face, maybe something new and fresh. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is different because they have the green on the eyelids, these really cool lips. I love this cover, but I'm ready for something different. But you can see right here, it tells you have the Petalmorphosis palette. We'll flip her over to the back. Made in Italy. Definitely was keeping an eye out for that 18-month shelf life. Let's get in here. And yes, I do keep this box, even though it's slightly annoying at times when trying to pick out my Pat McGrath palette for the day. But you can see in here it comes with, oh, okay. In here it comes with the shade names. And I did order the lilac palette. I had to. or excuse me, the lavender palette. And as of right now, this is supposed to be limited edition, but it's still available on the Pat McGrath website. And I've got to be 100% with you guys. The black looks better against the colors that are inside here. I think the purple almost doesn't match the colors in here, so it really dulls down the look of the colors. But I had to get the limited edition option, especially since lavender is my favorite color, because when it's sitting on my vanity, I wanted that beautiful purple, but the black shade does look better with these. So anyways, it was a tough decision at checkout because I like the black better, but I needed to have the lavender. Okay, and then the back is just gold with my dirty fingerprints all over it already. I don't think there's any new information here. Okay, you ready? Boom. Oh. But you do have the nice beveled mirror, super duper heavy, that luxurious Pat McGrath packaging. Like, my arm is kind of getting tired holding this already, but these shades pop so much more against black. I just think a black background against green shades really make them pop, but these are the colors that we're working with, and right away, can you see? The special shades are not that original baked formulation that came out in the first palettes. So that's a little that's very disappointing, honestly. They must have changed labs, formulations. Something happened as the brand has progressed here. So we're just not getting the old baked formulas back from the OG days, which is truly what set this brand apart. It's a formula that, if you ask me, is the most unique. So that's disappointing, but let's swatch these. I haven't touched these yet. So I'm going to go with these 5 shades first, and then I'm going to swatch the special shades at the end. So first we have Divine Dawn, which is just a plain shimmer shade. Now, I do recall the original plain shimmer formulas being a little bit more wet and creamier. And I mean, I'm talking about like the first 4 to 5 launches of palettes, so just keep that in mind. Twilight Lilac, that's beautiful. This is a shade I definitely see myself utilizing a lot. Then we have Cosmic Fantasies, which is a metallic shade, and that feels really wet and disgustingly beautiful. Divine Dawn, it felt drier, but I mean, that's applying really beautifully. Or swatching, excuse me. Twilight Lilac. And then we have that Cosmic Fantasies, which has like a darker base than I like, almost like a black-brown base. But wow, that's pretty. For the bottom 2 shades, we have Nocturnal Bloom and then Lunar Nectar. And I don't know if you can see, but Lunar Nectar is matte, but there are some glitters in there that can pick up if you don't blend them off. This shade makes me nervous because these can be really, really hard to work with, but it feels pretty nice. I'm excited to see what we can utilize this for. Okay. I mean, this is swatching not the greatest, but Pat McGrath mattes with these more difficult colors tend to swatch like that. And she's got to throw in a shade like this, like a nice rosy crease shade. Pat McGrath, they can't help themselves. Well, we've lost the baked formulation. At least in this palette, we've gained an extra special shade. Not the big special shades, but still like a Blitz Astral formula. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a difference between the Blitz shades and the Astral shades. That's what I'm going to see today. But we do have 5. So at least half of the palette is pretty special. So we'll do Astral Iridescence Iris. So I'm not expecting this one to have much of a base. That's actually... that's really gorgeous. That picked up a lot of pigment too. It's more of a drier formulation, which I really like. It's not that super wet formula. Then this one, Astral Eden Envy. This feels a little bit more creamier, but it's not crazy wet or anything. I mean, it is beautiful. It may not be that big formula, but it is stunning. Is it very unique from a regular good quality metallic? I would say there's some extra flex in there, but probably not to justify the $128 price point if we're being realistic here. And then Astral Sunset Splendor. That one seems a little lighter, a little bit more sheer. So these are all 3 Astral shades. I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell the difference, but this is going to be a topper. That is stunning. Purple and pink shimmers with a pretty clear base. It is that iridescent shade. I love this. This is giving a little bit more classic Pat McGrath. While it's not exactly that baked formulation, it has the essence of those original formulations. Astral, Eden, Envy. This is like a true shimmer metallic formula. It does have those extra specks of reflex in there. I mean, it's gorgeous. This shade all over my lid is calling my name. And then we have Astral, Sunset, Splendor, that classic Pat McGrath pinky shade, rosy shade that she has to throw in there. But it's pretty. It looks like it has some gold flecks in there. It does not pick up by swatch as much as I would like for it to set it apart from other brands, but you can see it has those special expensive reflex in there. Bottom level here, we have the two Blitz shades. I don't know. Let's see if there's really any difference. We have Blitz Radiant Rhapsody and Blitz Bronze Supernova. These feel slightly creamier than the Astral shades, right? But nothing crazy. Okay, let's see. I'm actually quite excited to swatch this one. Oh, that's gorgeous. It has some blue in there, like a little bit of teal, and it definitely has some bluish glitters in there. That's stunning. That's definitely a standout shade in this palette. It is what is giving that pop factor, that wow factor to this palette to make us not think it's as rosy as you know, these shades are. Okay, and then we have the Bronze Supernova, which is going to be really great for balancing the couple of pop shades that we have in here to make it more wearable, give it a little bit more versatility. As a neutral wearer, I'm not mad at the neutral rosy additions in here. It's just a signature to the brand at this point that is just going to have to be accepted, in which I have. But I think they've added some good shades here to make it more versatile. And looking at it in my arm, right, this is a little bit more purple, mauve-y, as opposed to pink. Obviously, these two are kind of that OG pinky colors, but there's really not a gold. This looked like it could have been gold, or this one, but this is more truly bronze. Of course, if you compare these to other palettes from Pat McGrath, you're definitely going to come across some some family members for sure. But overall, I mean, I think this is quite unique to the line. I know some people have said if you covered the greens, this palette exists, and sure, but I don't know. I'm not that bothered by it. I don't feel offended by this being too repetitive. Like, I just don't think it is, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, as you can see, those swatches were quite not what the website swatches look like. I always say, love the aesthetic of Pat McGrath's socials, but the swatches are never truly representative of what it's like IRL. And I was liking this palette a lot, but then when you swatch it against the like OG days, I mean, those palettes that I have are years old and they just swatch totally different. But I'm excited to get everything on today. First and foremost, we've got to play with the greens. That's easily the most exciting part of today's palette. So we're gonna do a pretty much all green look on this. I'm gonna do 2 looks today, but stay tuned because I'm definitely committed to using this palette and creating a lot more looks. I'll probably do a get ready with this palette within the next few days as we get to know it more. But you know, I'm pretty well versed in Pat McGrath. If I do say so myself, as a reviewer for the last 7 years. Sorry, I'm getting my shades in front of me and shade descriptors. Okay, just for a base shade, I'm gonna go ahead into Lunar Nectar, which is that matte shade that has some glitters in there, but they should wipe away. If you press, the glitters will stay. If you sweep, they'll go away. And this is that safe zone for Pat McGrath, that pale rosy shade. I use Milani eyeshadow primer all over the eyelid, and then I have just a little bit of Urban Decay concealer blended into the inner corner. I don't know why it's disagreeing with the eye primer, but anyways, I was saying meant the concealer, not the eyeshadow. I mean, this is a really great base to start off with for all of the looks. It's kind of Pat McGrath's version of a neutral shade. So this is gonna go with whatever shades you decide to put over top that are in the palette, truly. You can go green, you can go rose, you can go bronze. It's all gonna look good with this shade. Beautiful, versatile, nothing special, definitely exists in other Pat McGrath palettes, but I'm not too upset about it. What I need to use is this shade. I need to see if this is patchy. Not because it's Pat McGrath, but because shades like this tend to be patchy and harder to formulate, so I gotta know what's up. I'm trying to use it for eyeliner in at least one look today, but I've been thirsting to try this shade as eyeliner. I'm just using a small blending brush from Rephr, the 14 brush, and I am slowly blending this out, and it seems to be working out pretty well. And I love Pat McGrath mattes, but I have come across a few Pat McGrath mattes over the years that were a little patchy, particularly the deeper shades like this, or not necessarily patchy, but more on the difficult side to blend. But I'm not getting that with this color, and this is going to be such a cool base shade for a lot of the shades in this palette. Like, put this all over the lid, right? You can layer with this. Of course, I'm going to go here today. I really love this green, and this is definitely one of the more unique mattes to Pat McGrath in terms of the Mothership family, MOTHERSHIP family. The MTHSHP family, I think we've seen greens like this from the brand before. So, but I'm talking the big old made in Italy only, not from imported other parts of the world that the non-full-length Mothership palettes are made in. Just gonna blend that out. Really nice. I mean, just a suggestion for application in general, not just from this palette in particular. Work slow, because shades like this can be funky, but I feel like it's holding that vibrant green very well. I like it. We'll build it up later, but of course, my first order of business is Blitz Radiant Rhapsody, which has a little bit of teal in here. Like, look at that. I have to simply put it all over the lid. I don't have any glitter glue down. I don't have a wet brush or anything, just a dry finger. This is how I apply my Pat McGrath shades. I mean, if it's gonna be a long night or I really want that bop boom, of course, I'll use glitter glue. But I think one of the beautiful things about Pat McGrath palettes is they don't always need a glitter glue. And that's really beautiful, applied really beautiful. I mean, it goes without saying, you saw the proof was in the pudding, and you'll see towards the end when we get into the swatch comparisons, this is not the same formula that's in the OG pre-Divine Rose Craze phase, when the formula slowly started to shift. It's not the same as those. But, I mean, you can't deny it's beautiful. Is it worth $128? I don't know, but stunning. Stunning, stunning. And then we're going to go into this more of like a yellow green. And I think this one could benefit from a glitter glue of sorts, because it does have a little bit of looser flex in here. But I'm just going to be really careful, push it in, and it's working gorgeously. So this one has a little bit more of a scattered effect, but it still does have a nice base. These are two very interesting greens in that they're quite different from one another. I mean, they bleed relatively seamless into one another, but it's not the same tone. Like, this is more vibrant. The one I just applied is a little bit more neutral. It would go better with browns, whereas this goes better with more vibrant greens. She did a beautiful halo eye utilizing these shades. If you want to check it out, she has great tutorials on her website. But you guys know, when it comes to the review aspect, I'm not really doing looks to look beautiful. I'm doing looks to tell you if this quality is going to be worth it or not, and then the looks come later on as the weeks go on with this palette. Whether you follow me on Instagram, or I'll probably be wearing it in videos, you'll see. And then I'm going to go into a little bit more. Now, there's not a lot of matte shades here that are going to give a ton of depth. I would have loved like a really almost black green. Like this is not quite deep enough. And normally, especially in the more original days, which they tried to emulate here, I believe, there were better deepening shades than this that were a little bit deeper, a little bit more versatile, but it still gives us some depth. And it's still obviously going to show up on deeper complexions. And that's one of the reasons Pat McGrath has done so well over the years, is her eyeshadows are magic on deeper complexions, but they work on lighter complexions alike. It's really crazy. But that did add some extra depth. That is really pretty. I have definitely gotten a look like this from one of the holiday palettes before, without question, but quality is very good there. Let's try doing a little bit of liner. So I'm dipping into Nocturnal Bloom once more since there isn't a deeper shade. And it's applying beautifully. I think if I went in with lighter lid colors, this would really pop. My voice just gave out. But with this particular look, since I already utilized Nocturnal Bloom in the outer corner, it's not going to pop quite as much, but with the right look, it can definitely offer a lot more for liner. And you guys, I got very minimal fallout. You might see a little bit here. I'm just going to clean up really quickly. Okay, and then obviously there's really not many matte options to choose from here, so we're really going to utilize this emerald, which gotta give credit where credit is due. This is working out beautifully. I was concerned to begin with, because if this went bad, which was very possible, it was not going to be good, because this is one of the standard shades of the palette, but we did it. And you can see I put a little bit of a inner corner wing, and then I'm going to use this. This is Divine Dawn. Pop that in my inner corner, just for a little bit of glow, like so. Then on the lower lash line, we're gonna go with this shade, Blitz Radiant Rhapsody. Keep that on the outer corner. And I'm using a completely dry brush, and it's just glazing over beautifully. And this right here. So what is this one? Astral Eden Envy. The names from Pat McGrath are so hard. Whoops, this got a little messy. That is the more flaky shade, less creamy, more dry, but not in a bad way. When we get lashes on, this look is going to be quite spectacular. Okay, now for this eye, I am going to have to use Astral Iridescent Iris. This one looks a little flaky messy, so that's why I'm going to use it. And I think we want to go a little bit more purpley, right, with the mauve shades. So we'll do a halo eye. I'm going to start off with Twilight Lilac. Hello, if there's a purple in the palette, of course I'm going to use it. So I'm just patting that down. And I feel like these did look a little bit more rosy online. And don't get me wrong, they have that hint of rose. But I think it reads a little more purple in person. So I switched over to a A502 from BK Beauty. I'm just going into a little bit more. We're gonna keep going. This is like a nice mid-tone shade on my skin tone. I'm actually very excited for this look. I think it could be quite ethereal if I stopped here with the depth, but I do want to dig into a couple more shades. So I guess we'll deepen it up. I'm gonna use Cosmic Fantasies, which this is like a brownie plummy shade, and this has potential to be messy. I think a finger might be best with it. Swatch really beautiful. It's creamy to the touch, but we're gonna use that for the depth, just right over top with lilac kind of peeking out here. Oh yeah, that added the perfect amount of depth. And even though it is a metallic shade, I think it's really beautiful. And when I push it in with my finger, no fallout. But you can use a wet brush if you don't want to use your finger and you need a little bit more precision. Beautiful. I think I'm going to add just a wee bit more of Twilight Lilac. oops. I'm definitely going to need to use a glitter glue of sorts. Even I know I'm gonna need to use it for the center here. So this is Astral Iridescent Iris, that bonus special shade. I have this slightly dried up Too Faced glitter glue, and I'm just gonna pop that in the center here because this shade does feel piecey, flaky. So I want to ensure, I think this could be a fun shade all over the lid as well, but yeah, definitely flaky. Ooh, when pressed on over that glitter glue, how stunning is that? Now it looks a little chunky, if you can see that. Not in a bad way. I have an idea. Okay. So that really stuck to the glue and that gave us more of a base color, but you can see how chunky that is. Tapping off the excess. And I do want to kind of give it a more sporadic look, a little messier on purpose. Be careful of the chunks. Oops. It is that beautiful iridescent, but I wish it was in a baked formula. Like this in a baked formula would be game changing, but with it being that newer Pat McGrath formula, it's just a bit messier. Like, like this palette in the old formula would hit so right. It would hit me in all the right places. Okay, we're going back into Cosmic Fantasies. Kind of mix this in with the edges of that iridescent shade to make it look more intentionally blended. It's quite pretty and it's quite ethereal. Now there is no good dark eggplant shade, but Pat McGrath has plenty of eggplant shades to work with us as liner. And I don't want to use the green as liner for this one. So I happen to have this new-ish Nomad palette. I'm going to use this as my eyeliner. I'm just going to do the same, different colors. Point being, it's not from this palette. Let me do that real quick. And then, sorry, love the look. This is right up my alley. And I know that you guys were worried that this palette was too rosy. Purple and green, the colors to my heart. Okay. And I'm not going to do nothing crazy here. I'm just using that initial crease color. I'm actually really happy. This look has elevated my love for this palette already because I feel like I wasn't even expecting such a purpley look to come out of this. Inner and outer corner. Then we're going to do our metallic shade, which you could benefit from wetting your brush, but I'm going to live on the edge here and I'm not mad at it. Put it a little lower than I would have liked, but that's fine. And then I am going to wet my brush with a little bit of our delightful iridescent shade. Random setting spray I had in my speed reviews drawer. Essence. I should use this today. See what I think of it, and I'm just gonna. Beautiful. Love, love, love. Last thing, I'm just gonna go into Divine Dawn, which this could be cool all over the lid, and then sprinkle some of the iridescent shade over top, but didn't want to do that today. I'm just gonna put a little bit on the inner wing, on the lower side, and then on the upper, and then on our brow bone. My signature halo eye. Love it, love it. Let me finish the rest of the look. Pat McGrath. I love this look. Like, words cannot describe how much I love this smoky, lilac-y halo eye. I mean, okay. Here's the looks that we have, and I simply love both of them. I FaceTimed my mom, and she only saw the green look, but she was like, whoa, what's on your eyes? She hasn't even seen this one, and this one is like right up my alley. Kisses from my collection with Odin's Eye, and these lilac shades. If you got your hands on Kisses, you've got to try it with these shades. Okay, before I get into my final thoughts, but wait, look. I do love the looks I did. Before I get into my final thoughts, you're probably wondering, how does this compare to the old formulas? How does this compare to a couple other palettes? I'm going to take you to that right now. So this new palette, when I saw it, I immediately thought of Mothership Xii Sublime. I'm going to flip it so that you can see the differences. It's mostly that pop of green that caught my eye, and then a couple of the rose-toned shades. But it very much gave Sublime 2, but a little bit... Like, Sublime 2 has a little bit more true neutrals, but let me show you the swatches. And just to clarify, these are the baked formulas that I was talking about. You can tell they look so much different in pan as well. Like, they don't have that baked look. And wait, do you see the swatches? So the bottom are the Sublime swatches. The green, like, look at these flecks in these shadows. There's so much different in the original palette formula versus this new palette formula. They just look smoother, but yet they still have that super special reflex. They swatch so much silkier. They're so much better. And I just tried to say that these were very beautiful, which they are. But that's when you don't touch them side by side. Even this, it's almost like a satin shade, swatched more smooth and pigmented than the shades up here. It's just a superior formula. It has shifted over the years. It's lost that special touch. But if you want to do some side-by-side swatch comparisons, I mean, there's definitely, I'm going to say similar special shades in terms of tone, but it's more special in the Sublime palette. I'm not going to lie. If you've bought a new one, are they still this beautiful? Like, if you've bought Sublime or 1, 2, or 3 recently, are they still this beautiful formula? Hopefully they didn't go to other factories, but the formula is so much better. But anyways, these are like side-by-side swatches, and I just feel like you can see the quality through the swatches. Petalmorphosis also gave me Subversive. Honestly, this is the closest I felt to it being to Subversive, and Subversive is one of my all-time favorite palettes ever. I just think this color story curation is genius, the versatility in the looks. It's one of the prettiest eyeshadow palettes to exist. It's one of those OG palettes, so it has a better formulation, but I think some of these shades have dried out, but I've had it for years, so that's okay. But it did. It gave me Subversive, which is a big deal and a big thing for me to say. Now, I did just swatch a few shades. You can see that green is very different. The purple is more purple. Obviously, the right side here is the Subversive palette. They're quite different, but they do have the air of similarity. Like, they're cousins, I would say. And again, these Blitz Astrals just are 1,000 times better. Like, can you even see in the swatches? Come on now. Okay. But I just wanted to show you that. This shade, I think, is so unique from Pat McGrath, that dark emerald green in this one. The other shades, they definitely have relatives that exist within the line. Oh, if you weren't around for it, I would say the launch of this palette, Divine Rose, is what made the brand. Had to be millions. Like, this really put Pat McGrath's name out there. They went from being a big brand to being a huge brand. This was just a ginormous launch, and I think that it really changed the pathway of Pat McGrath, because after that it was rose, 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 everything. And I love this palette. I think it's gorgeous, and a lot of you guys have been saying with this new Petalmorphosis palette that if you take the greens away, that it gives Divine Rose. I mean, I can totally see what you guys are saying, but I think it's more of an addition to Divine Rose. I mean, like I said, I'm not offended, but I did want to show you. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? Obviously, the right side is Divine Rose. The tones are completely different. These two shades are quite similar, with Divine Roses being just the better version, the better sister. But I don't think they're that close, honestly. But it could be like a shade extension to the palette, just a few shades. Okay, so final thoughts. We cannot ignore the fact that this isn't the OG formula. I think they really tried to give that OG vibe of the colors that they chose, which I think they did a good job with. But it's very clear we're not getting the baked formulas back anytime soon, unfortunately. So is it as good as quality as it once was? No. Would I recommend you pay $128 for it? No. Would I recommend it if it's on sale? If you want it, sure. If you like the colors, yes. I mean, regardless of my thoughts of the brand, I'm still a Pat McGrath fan. I still love the Mothership palettes. I still think they are beautiful quality. I think in 2025, is Pat McGrath worth it as much as it was in the past? No. But I'm still a fan, and I still enjoy this palette, and I think it is beautiful, and I've loved the looks I've got with it thus far. Obviously, we'll finalize my opinions on it as I continue to use it more and create more looks, but I am more pleased than I even thought I would be with the looks that I created today. So overall advice to you, if you don't think it's worth it, definitely don't gotta pick it up. Indie brands have phenomenal options with phenomenal color stories with similar formulas, especially now, that are super competitive, if not better than these formulas. So it's not that this is the best of the best on the market anymore, but I do love the full luxurious experience between the packaging, the weighty component. It's just a piece of art for me and has a lot of meaning for me, and I really like this color story. I think it's beautiful, and I think I have some options here. We can go green, we can go lilac, and it looks like we have some peachy options we can go with, but I'll continue to see with the versatility of this. I thought that the limited mattes in here, from what I've tried, they seem to be really good quality, very easy to blend out. Even the special shades, can't stress this enough, not as special anymore, but still are quite stunning. So let me know your thoughts about this palette down below. Are you into it? Do you plan on picking it up? If you could wait and you still wanted it, make sure you get this baby on sale. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more as I continue to test and play with this palette, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one.
It's delicious.